10 years, the time that Zomato and Zerodha took to become a unicorn. 6 years, the time that Mama Earth took to become a unicorn. 6 months, that's all it took Mensa Brands to become a unicorn. A company that made more than 500 crores in revenue in FY23 and is India's fastest ever company to reach $1 billion valuation in just 6 freaking months. And they were even profitable in the first 6 months of their journey, but you might not even have heard of them. A company that is scaling more than 20 DTC brands at once, which includes brands like MyFitness, Villain, Dennis Lingo, and many more. It's India's first e-commerce roll-up company and have cracked something super unique in India's e-commerce market that you must know of. So what is the secret sauce here and what has Mensa Brands cracked? We'll get into that, but if you're new to the channel and wondering what GrowthX is, we are an invite-only community of over 3,000 founders and product and marketing leaders from top product companies. You can check more about us from the link in the description. Coming back to the first insight that they cracked, which is the Thrasio Insight. See, Mensa was started by Anand Narayanan, who has literally witnessed the e-commerce wave firsthand in India. He's an ex-McKinsey consultant, ex-co-founder and CEO of MedLife, and ex-CEO of Myntra. So the question is, what does the company do? See, Mensa is a company which is a house of brands, but they don't build each brand from 0 to 1. Instead, they're acquiring promising brands and take them from 1 to 10 journey. The company has followed a Thrasio business model. But what is that? See, Thrasio is a US company started by these two guys in 2018 who noticed a startling trend on Amazon: the rise of third-party sellers. Look, Amazon has primarily two types of sellers. One is the first-party sellers or vendors, and second is the third-party sellers. In the case of first-party relationship, Amazon acts as a wholesaler for you. And it's an invite-only program, and Amazon only invites few big sellers as they are sure of the frequency and reputation of these sellers. For these sellers, Amazon takes care of everything, be it shipping products, details, listing, figuring out the pricing, and even returns. So the role of the vendor in this relationship is just to fulfill the purchase order sent by Amazon and ship the product to Amazon. The next one, which is the third-party relationships, are what most of the small businesses get when they enroll as an Amazon seller. Here, Amazon becomes only the marketplace for you. In this, you sell your product directly to customers on Amazon being the marketplace, but the catch here is that you have to take care of everything, starting from pricing, product listing optimization, advertising, and even logistics and returns. But now Amazon has made the logistic part easier through their service of fulfillment by Amazon, which takes care of the deliveries. Thrasio, which is the US company that we are talking about, noticed the rise in third-party sellers on Amazon. This number went from 26% in 2007 to 61% in 2024. The space for third-party sellers was getting really competitive, and many good brands would reach a threshold of $3 to $5 million in revenue and would get stuck there and wouldn't scale post that. And to expand, they would either take debt or raise funds. So Thrasio would come in here and acquire these brands to give founders a good lucrative exit. And then they would fix everything for the brand, be it product portfolio, packaging, online strategy, performance marketing, and even supply chain. With these strategies, they increased sales by 30% within 2 months from many of these brands and got over 200 brands under the folio. In fact, they even reached a P valuation of $10 billion and raised funds from big investors like these. But today, things are not going super great for them because of their bankruptcy situation, but that's for some other day. What's really important here is that this model of acquiring and bringing multiple brands or acquiring companies under one company is known as the roll-up model, and Thrasio made it popular in the e-commerce space. This became the genesis for Mensa Brands. By the way, Mensa is still very different from Thrasio, and we'll cover this in detail in the video. But what's similar though is that Mensa also acquires a majority stake of minimum 51% in fast-growing e-commerce companies in various categories like apparel, home, personal care, beauty, and even content. These companies would ideally have a revenue of 25 to 35 crores, and founder would work with Mensa for 5 years at least. So all these 20 plus companies that you see here are nothing but the acquired companies of Mensa. By the way, this model has obviously been replicated by other players in the country as well, like Global Bees, Upscalio, Code Brand Labels, and even Flow. You can check the investors backing each of them in this graph by pausing the video. But Mensa's goal is to acquire 40 to 50 brands over time and scale 20% of them to a revenue of more than 1,000 crores. And just see what Anand feels about this.
We have 20 brands that we bought.
Yeah.
I would say 7 of those brands are now 80% of our revenue, and they are the breakout brands. Right? There is another 7 that I think have the potential to be a breakout, and then there are others that we will consolidate into these 14.
Now let's talk about the second insight, the Indian brand insight. But before we get into that, I'm super excited to tell you that we are launching Foundations by GrowthX. And this is completely free for our YT fam. Foundations are the pillars for key problems that folks from product, growth, and marketing roles and even founders face on daily basis. These are not blogs or quick hacks or any ebooks. These are built by learning experience team at GrowthX along with experts from top product companies that go 2 levels deeper into a basic concept. These are actionable, no fluff, step-by-step guides that help you execute your learning at work from the next Monday morning. We have built foundation keeping one thing in mind: burning problem statements don't wait. And while you're expected to solve problems at supersonic speeds, having your foundation in place will be your head start in solving them. Again, these are free for a YT fam. Check it out from the link in the comments. Now coming back to the insight. See, what made Anand super bullish was the possibility of creating Indian brands, and this was because of 2 reasons. One was the growing Indian consumption, and the second was the higher internet penetration, and we'll discuss both. If you look at the consumption side, we are the 5th biggest consumer market in the world, and we are supposed to get to the 3rd spot by 2026. In fact, India's private consumption is so big that it makes massive 60% of our entire GDP, which is almost twice of what it does for a similar big country like China. So we are a country where private consumption basically drives our economy. But what is private consumption? It is basically the expenses consumers make for basic stuff like food, housing, clothing, health, and even leisure, communication, and education. And this data is as per the Bloom Indus Valley report. It's a great report, by the way, and if you want to access this, we have shared the link in the description. By the way, interestingly, if you go deep, you would see that 10% of India contributes to 50% of consumption, as India has 3 different economies within itself, which is Poland, Singapore, and Mexico, where each is significantly different from each other. And this is from the theory of Kishore Biani, who is an Indian retail legend and the guy behind Big Bazaar. But yeah, let's keep that for some other day when we'll only talk about India's economy in retail. So what's important to understand is that while one major tailwind for the business was growing consumption, the next one was India's internet boom. See, our internet penetration has risen from 41% to 55% in just last 4 years. In fact, we have now more internet users in rural India than we have in urban India, a situation which took some time to happen. And this has just accelerated the e-commerce market and made it possible for online-first brands to exist. And there are many big examples like Mamaearth, Boat, Lenskart, and many more. But what Anand noticed here is that this is just the tip of the iceberg, because some of the biggest categories like clothing, personal care, food are highly unbranded. If you look at food, 50% of the market is unorganized. If you look at apparel, 65% of the market is unorganized. But as these sectors get more and more organized, and as people spend more on these sectors with increasing per capita incomes, India would see more people spending more on the basis of brand value. And this pattern is something that all of us have observed around us. We are happy to pay a premium if we like a brand, and these brands are what Mensa is aiming to go for. The company wants to create a few brands that became household names in 10 years, because they know that this is not a single winner takes all market, but a market where many winners can coexist. Now, the third insight, offline and content play. Look, the Thrasio model and Mensa model might look similar from hindsight, but they're different. How is that? See, even the category of products both brand target are very different. Thrasio was more focused on acquiring hot-selling products than acquiring brands. For example, one of the companies that they acquired is a company called This Works. This company only makes one product, which is vacuum cleaners. And there's another one called Chalktastic. Again, this company makes paints and sketch pens, that's all. Mensa, on the other hand, is going for brands rather than going for hot-selling products. Brands which can be 1,000 crore brands in India. They are focusing on bigger categories like fashion, beauty, FMCG, home, and even content. They're also different from Thrasio in the sense that they're going also for the offline channel. Because as per them, every brand requires different levers to be pulled as per different stages. For example, from 0 to 20 crores, the company should focus obsessively on product and get good reviews and good repeat rates. From 20 to 100 crores, the company should get effective with performance marketing and expand its SKUs. From 100 to 500 crores, the company should start opening offline stores and build effective campaigns and do effective community building. And offline makes a lot of sense in India because we are a very value conscious market, and to build the trust, we need to see the product in our hands. The more we see a product offline, the more we think of trying it out. And it is even more important in categories like food and touch and feel categories like clothing. That's why they even got on board Niranjan Tandul Wadekar, who had great experience of taking care of the offline operations at Aditya Birla Fashion, the giant that owns some of the biggest lifestyle brands in India, including Sabyasachi, Van Hussein, and Forever 21. Another super unique thing they have done is going for content companies like MenXP and iDiva. At the time of the acquisition, both of these companies had roughly 35 million monthly active users, a big audience right away for them to market and promote their products better. This again is a very smart move because these platforms are very lifestyle focused platforms, and the process of discovery, which is basically when when you see the product for the first time can happen really well on these platforms. Because we know that products now are discovered online first and then the conversion happens later in offline. So the easier the discovery becomes, easier the conversion becomes. This brings me to their fourth unique strategy, which is the going global insight. This again is very different to what Thrasio did. See, Mensa is not looking at the population of just 1.3 billion people. They're also looking past that. In fact, right now they have 30% of the revenue coming from global markets, including US, UAE and Canada. This again is a very unique approach that they have taken. In fact, 50% of all their brand portfolio is available outside. Now you must be thinking, how do they do that? See, they list their products in the e-commerce platforms of these companies too. For example, in the case of UAE, they listed their products like Willen, Pebble and Folk Culture on Amazon of UAE and other e-commerce platform which is Noon, which is pretty famous in UAE by the way. Amazon becomes a lot easier for them because the ratings and great reviews that their products get here also get translated and reflected in other countries. And the going global insight is a masterstroke because India is one of the biggest apparel manufacturers in the world. So making something here and selling it at outside at higher rates in the foreign currencies is just a great idea. By the way, this is not something that any brand can do, and Mensa has an advantage of scale here. Just imagine, many brands out of them could have the same suppliers. Like they might be getting the cotton from suppliers from multiple brands at once. This just gives them the power to negotiate better prices with their suppliers and reduce the cost of goods in the long run. Plus their optimization for scaling becomes easy because they now have the advantage of economies of scale. By the way, this benefit of scale also applies to talent because they have a team of experts working on specific function for 20 brands at once. For example, a performance marketing team that is obsessively working on performance marketing of 20 brands can figure out what strategies works and what does not and iterate accordingly. Every little thing that we have discussed so far combined makes Mensa a strong house of brands that can disrupt India's e-commerce space. So these were the main insights that made Mensa a very unique startup story. If you like this video, do check out the video we did on Whole Truth. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.